And we're recording.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Can anybody hear us?
Hello. Yeah. Good to see you guys.
All right. A lot of familiar faces.
Hey, good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
It's like the throw out the bat signal, right? The Bitcoin signal, and then
That light, so everybody knows to come back.
6 months in quarantine, throw out the Bitcoin light, and everybody just shows up, huh?
Yeah. It doesn't hurt the prices that are going up.
Yeah.
It's kind of woken people up again now. My phone starts ringing again.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm just gonna kind of wait about 5 minutes or so because I have to let people in manually here. So I'm just gonna let some people come in and then we'll get started here.
If you click participants, you can actually disable the waiting room.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Oh.
There's a way to do it, or
Hey.
Hey there.
Hi, hey, Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, you too. Like you look like you're in the same backyard we are.
I am. I'm just right across from you. Don't
hey.
you see me? Awesome.
So we throw out the Bitcoin signal and everybody shows up. So it's nice
That's
that it's
right.
showing up in value. We're just
That
gonna
is
give it
nice.
about another 5 minutes, and then we'll get started. But
What's your favorite coin, you guys? What are you into the last month or two? Anybody?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin's the big one.
Chainlink.
Hey, what do you guys think of Singularity Net?
Singularity. Man, I haven't heard that one for years now. Singularity.net. I was in on
Yeah,
this
me
ICO
neither.
years ago. Are they still a thing?
I think they're still a thing.
That's a hodler's mentality right there,
That's
just
right.
from the very beginning.
That was one of the 100 ICOs, I think, that in 2017. Man, we were going in all of them. So, but most of them, after a week or two, and they doubled or tripled, we got out and we hit the next one. That was kind of the big train.
Compound,
Nice.
Cosmos. I'm just looking at some of these comments
Everybody
here.
get into Yam yesterday? Woo, Yam!
Oh my gosh. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I just got in at a price of 0.
It is.
Now I'm just waiting for the next pump.
Yeah, that
as
was
soon as
wild.
I saw that it was unaudited. I'm like, well, that's not a good sign.
No way.
But you see the lemmings all run off the cliff together. So it was kind of, anybody was around in early 2017 and all that craze and all the lemmings that just fell off the cliff with them, you kind of knew that was coming.
Yep.
Well, it's people 2-year bear market, right? So it feels kind of good to have a little something come back.
Hey, there's Michelle.
Oh,
Hi, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey guys.
what's going on?
Feminine energy.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm having technical issues, but I'm here. So
Oh, good.
Nice. Is that Dana in the background?
yes. Dana, do you want to say hello?
I saw a shadow.
Hey.
Oh, are you guys 6 feet apart?
The camera makes us look closer.
Yeah.
Centimeters.
An optical
The
illusion.
camera adds 6 feet.
Here's my man.
That's good.
Hey, James.
You like my shirt?
How you doing, man?
Makes nuts to autumn.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Okay. Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Is there a meeting passcode for those of us that are trying to join from our PCs?
It should just be a Zoom link. Did you join from the Facebook or Meetup group?
Facebook.
You should automatic. I just set it up so anybody can join.
Okay, let me just try A.
Sometimes with Zoom, I think you actually have to download the software.
On mine, I had it down. The first time I clicked on the link, it downloaded the software, and the second time after the software is installed, then it connected me and got me in.
I'm a Mac,
Gotcha.
so Windows troubleshooting. No good.
James, you look different.
Do I? Oh, something's off.
You're shaking. You
Huh?
did
He's never had that much face
weird.
that I've ever seen before.
Yeah, I shaved my beard.
Nice.
Look.
You
Like-
guys see that picture of John McAfee wearing the female thong for a face mask? He got arrested wearing a female.
He wouldn't take it off.
He wouldn't take it off, right? So that's what he went.
Crazy times.
Scamming alternative coins on his Twitter to now he's.
Well, I'm looking forward to see what he does actually at the end of the year.
Oh, I
If
think-
Bitcoin
I think he-
doesn't- if
yeah,
Bitcoin
he was
doesn't
supposed
hit-
He's
to-
Right.
supposed to eat his dick.
Yes, that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I personally don't think he's got one. So
Well, that's because he's got a thong now, so it makes
that's right.
sense.
If he's wearing female thongs, that shows you right there. He's missing something.
Well, when he was living in what was it, Costa Rica? I mean,
No, it's Belize.
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 Oh, really? Yeah, I remember that HBO
Yeah,
documentary.
we won't
or-
talk about that. This
Anyway.
He's got a
family.
he's got a compound in Tennessee with hundreds of thousands of dollars of gold and shit. My friends are working with him.
Oh,
He's a
Oh, really?
character.
I mean, if anybody's going to push the envelope, I think it's going to be him. So, I mean, I don't think there's any shortage of shady characters that want to do business with him. I don't know. I think we're good here.
okay.
All right, so I think it's 9 minutes past. People will just sort of come in. So welcome everybody. It's been a while, I think, since we've actually had any type of communication with you. We've sent this message out to our meetup groups, which is free. We usually had events over at overstock.com. We also posted it on the Facebook group as well. Also, Mark has the Watch My Wallets group on Facebook as well, so we posted it there. And it's been what, 6 months now since kind of coronavirus put everything on lockdown.
I haven't done a speech for about a year now. I did the Overstock Bitcoin meetup. It was about, I think, October last year. So it's been almost a year since I've actually got up in front of a crowd. So this is kind of nice.
And so this is us doing Zoom, right? This is how you're supposed to do it. The market has been in a bear market period, and the market's been showing a little bit of life lately, or a lot of life lately. So we wanted to connect with everybody and be able to talk a little bit about what's going on with the cryptocurrency market, talk a little bit about the economy, talk a little bit about kind of where we think things are, possibly going in 2020 and going into 2021. Mark, obviously, I'll give a brief introduction here shortly, but Mark Reese has been on top of it in the past, and he seems to be on top of it right now as well. And so we wanted to hear from him, and then he and I will just kind of have a conversation over the next 30 minutes about what we think is happening in the marketplace. So that's just going to be for about 30 minutes, and then what we want to do is we want to open it up for questions. So we're going to talk about a few different projects that are going on, what's happening, and then we want you guys to be able to ask your questions as well. So if you guys can think about, or maybe something that we say, kind of pops up as something, hey, I was curious about that, write it down, and then we'll talk about that in 30 minutes, and we'll just answer questions for the remaining part of our meeting. So
If it gets too dark, or you guys get too bored, or if someone gets too hungry, or we need to go take a leak, or whatever.
yeah, so if you're anything like Mark and I showed up here about an hour ago, and I think it was just pretty much nonstop talking about crypto. So
We thought after an hour, we thought, we got to save some of this for the camera because we couldn't stop talking, and we got to keep it fresh. So we may have some conversations we already had. So that'll be fun. It's a good time to talk when you get all these crypto nerds together.
all right, so let's get started. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is James Leba. I have been in the financial services industry for about 15 years. Spent my career working for Zions Bank as a personal banker, Goldman Sachs as a securities manager, and then in about 2015, I discovered Bitcoin. Started kind of going down that rabbit hole, and now I do institutional lending, so Bitcoin loans, cryptocurrency loans, and I also have Mark here as well. So Mark has 30 years of experience in information technology. He is a crypto enthusiast. He retired a couple years ago because he is a crypto enthusiast. He's spent over 10,000 hours studying cryptocurrency, learning about cryptocurrency. He invested wisely. He speculated wisely. He was smart enough to not put all his eggs in one basket. He was able to pull some back. So he was able to save enough money to retire. So he's been retired for a little while. But before he retired, he did start cryptocurrency education courses. During that time, he was able to help a few thousand students learn about cryptocurrency, dip their toes in. I know we probably have a lot of students actually that are here that actually had attended our courses. And then, the bear market came. We took a break. I've been in touch with Mark. Mark, who will tell you about his retirement also, but he starts talking about crypto again, and he's dipping his toes, and he's posting all these different coins here or there, and he's saying, "Oh, this is really hot. This is really hot." And there's a lot of excitement right now. Bitcoin's obviously up, but there's also a lot of other coins that are up, 100, 200, 300%. And we're like, what's going on in this space right now? And there's just a lot of excitement in this space around the world, and not just the United States, but just around the world. People are really getting excited about it. So I wanted to be able to ask Mark some questions about what's going on. So my first question, though, Mark, actually, is what have you been up to last 2 years?
Well, I've been retired. When you are fortunate enough to find Bitcoin when it's $50 and be in the Ethereum ICO and get in at 25 cents. At some point, you got to take some profits, and I'd taken enough profits. I thought, I don't really need to work anymore. I can just go travel and have fun. And as the market crashed in January of 2018, all those furious phone calls I'd be getting for the last 5 or 6 months, every day I'd hear from a long lost relative or friend I hadn't spoken to for sometimes decades. Once that crashed, those phone calls stopped coming, and you think, okay, now I can take a break. The cycles are, and you can go back clear to the starting of Bitcoin. You go about 2.5 years of just really quiet bear market. No one's talking about much. And a lot of times it's followed a crash. And then you go about 18 months of just furious bull runs that you can't even believe. There's people, they call them newbies or the normals out in the regular world. They can't even believe what we see in the crypto world, where things move so fast and so hard and furious that they wouldn't believe it if you tried to, get them into this world. So we have 18 months of just furious, wild price movements and bull, and everybody thinks it's never going to end, but it will. It'll crash again. I'll just tell you that right now. So we're at kind of the beginning loop of that 18-month cycle, which things can get really exciting. Really, if you're careful and you don't put all your eggs in one basket, we all do pretty well here. And so now the phones are ringing again, and we have coronavirus, so I can't really travel nearly as much as I used to. So I thought, well, it'd be a good time to, kind of get back in. And now the new wave is the DeFi movement, right? Decentralized finance, and everybody's kind of wanting to get in on that on that boat, ride that surge, and that could be bigger than the ICO craze of 2017. So I'm getting a lot of people asking me about what I think about the projects that are coming up, the new protocols. And so I thought, well, maybe we'd do a video and do a little interview and maybe answer a lot of those questions. And then we record this video, and I can just kind of refer them to this video and then have more time to study and find out more about these things. So there's a lot of things going. It's hard to keep track of them all. So we're doing our best.
All right. Thanks, Mark. And I know, 2 years being, on the road, traveling, retiring, you obviously held still a lot of cryptocurrency, right? There was always the foundational coins that you've always stuck with, Bitcoin, Ethereum. In that case, you're basically, watching the market, and all of a sudden in 2020, coronavirus hits, and the government's printing a bunch of money, and Bitcoin, starts going up in value. I mean, Coinbase saw a lot of $1,200 deposits of people buying Bitcoin because the government sent out stimulus checks, $1,200 stimulus checks to people. So Bitcoin, went up, right? It went through a halving, and then people are buying, Bitcoin with their stimulus checks. I mean, it's gone up significantly to the point that people are really excited right now. I mean, Bitcoin back in 2017 was obviously one of those things that we thought, okay, in case there's a market situation that kind of goes bad, or good hedge, to the U.S. dollar. But I mean, Bitcoin's been performing really well. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen in 2020? What do you think is going to happen in 2021? What do you think people think of Bitcoin right now, from a retail, individual basis to institutional basis?
Well, right now we had the big headline that MicroStrategy just admitted that they've done 21,000 Bitcoins as far as their treasury. Their entire company is worth 500 million. So half of their company, and this is a big Wall Street respected firm. The people that are invested in this firm include BlackRock and JP Morgan. They all have to vote on this thing. This isn't a decision that just the president of MicroStrategy makes in a vacuum. This is all these investors coming together and a majority voting to put their treasury in Bitcoin. So if JP Morgan's not a little company, BlackRock's not a little investment company. These are some of the biggest firms in Wall Street, given their thumb of approval, that they now accept that Bitcoin can be used as a alternative hedge strategy, to the point where, the entire treasury of this one department. I think this is just a harbinger of the things that are to come, as we try and fight our way out of this depression. Really, if so many people are unemployed, they have to give these unemployment checks. They have to do the stimulus. Otherwise, we're dead. If Wall Street falls, all the retirement funds that are into Wall Street funds, the mutual funds, they fall. If everybody's retirement starts falling and failing, the economy's failing, that becomes a national security issue. So it's not even a matter of choice. The president has to keep printing. The Congress has to keep printing money to fill in these gaps. They're papering over all the problems, but still, if they don't, we're in an even worse ball of trouble. So what happens when you print all this kind of money and people aren't working? Well, as you know, you get the same amount of things that people want to buy, but a whole lot more dollars chasing them. We have big inflation happens. And so what I suspect we're going to see relatively soon is that, and you're seeing it already with the price of, gold and silver and Bitcoin being examples, hard assets, things that you can't just make more of anytime you want, are going to go up in price. There's going to be many more dollars chasing those same amount of goods. So Bitcoin is going to be, it's the new gold. It's gold 2.0. It's got a lot of advantages, and people are still catching on. A lot of people still think, oh, it's a currency, it can be used to buy dark web stuff, but we're way past that. If you're talking to people that are still calling it a dark web currency, they're a half decade behind the times. It's now an asset class by itself. It's a hedge. It's a new gold, and no one really wants to do, nobody really wants to spend Bitcoin, because it's like those pizzas, the two pizzas that were the first purchase, Papa John pizzas, went for 10,000 Bitcoin. If anybody doesn't know that story, 10,000 Bitcoins was the first purchase for 2 Papa John pizzas. Now, and those were, so that gives them their market price of about a quarter of a penny a piece, if you start doing the math on that. And I just thought that was ironic, because MicroStrategy, the CEO, James, was telling me, was just making fun of Bitcoin. Was it 5 years ago? He was saying Bitcoin's a failed experiment, and he was laughing at it, to the point where 5 years later, he's now basing his entire treasury on the same asset class that he laughed at. And what caught me was the amount that he purchased. They purchased 21,000 Bitcoins. And by my math, that's only 4 Papa John pizzas.
It's going to buy a lot of Papa John pizzas in the future, if not right now. So, with regards to Bitcoin, though, it's obviously, the funny thing about Bitcoin is, when I very first got started in 2015, I bought a lot of Bitcoin. Bitcoin at the time, I think, was like $200. And so I actually just took, in 2014, 15, I took like half my wealth, put it into Bitcoin. And then as I learned more, I started speculating more into like the altcoins. It's kind of like that joke of like, you're walking around with your Bitcoin girlfriend, and then you kind of look at these altcoin girls on the side of the road, and you're just like, hey, you know. So I started experimenting with these altcoins and these ICOs, and I actually keep a record of, like, if I had just held on to my Bitcoin and not gotten into the ICOs or altcoins, I would actually be ahead by a few $100,000.
I had 6,000 Ethereum at one point. 6,000, if you know, if it went at its peak, 1,400, that was quite a bit of money. But it was like you, I kept track of all the ICOs and all the altcoins I did throughout 2017, and then how much the wins and losses and everything. And I went back and realized if I just stayed in Ethereum the entire time, I was way better off. So all the altcoin movements in and out, everything, I actually lost quite a bit of money.
And that's my story as well. It's like the Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we can talk about Ethereum, are the foundation, right? They are the ones that are top 1, top 2 on Coin Market Cap. I mean, they're the ones that have a really good use case, and they're popular all around the world. So, speaking about Ethereum, though, do you still believe in Ethereum? I mean, some Ethereum and some of these altcoins, Bitcoin's obviously been going up in value. So did Ethereum, and so did a lot of altcoins. So, is the Ethereum and altcoins coming back? Is there something to be said about that for 2020, 21?
Yeah, this is funny because if you talk to the Bitcoin maximalist group, right, the people that don't get out of the Reddit Bitcoin group, they think, and they still call Ethereum a scam. It's like they're not keeping up with current events. They have, the whole decentralized finance movement, have all of the Wall Street. They have, countries that are building their whole financial systems. Entire countries are building their entire functioning banking system, JP Morgan, on top of Ethereum. So Ethereum is the network, and there's not even anybody close. We hear people talking about Tezos and ADA and some of these other ones, but there's almost no development on those because nobody's there. It's like you have this big metropolis city, and then you have this tiny little village outside on the borders. Tron, yeah, Tron's. Yeah, all these Ethereum killers, right? They're all just ghost towns now. There's still people that'll still go out there and defend them, but really they're kind of on their last legs because there's not enough development there. Now, Ethereum could still have problems, and Ethereum right now is having problems with congestion. It's too popular for its own good. So I guess you can't say that it's going to be that way forever. But I use this analogy a while back, and it kind of makes sense. The whole cryptocurrency started with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is like Earth, right? It become a whole new world for people, another dimension that people couldn't even imagine. Having a financial instrument that was deflationary, that there was a limited amount, and that was started out as a quarter of a penny and has reached 20,000, and people are talking that it could be $1 million. I personally think we'll see $1 million Bitcoin. So, but that was started the race, right? That started crypto. That's only been a decade old. Then Ethereum came along, and we realized, there's something more than just Bitcoin. There's more than just this planet. There's an entire system of things that can work, right? There's other planets out there like Chainlink and so many other projects. And Ethereum, I think, I would equate to a solar system, right? So now you can put Bitcoin inside of Ethereum. It's called Wrapped Bitcoin, and you can trade it using what is faster than the Lightning Network on the Bitcoin network. You can actually trade Bitcoin using Wrapped Bitcoin on the Ethereum network. It swallowed Bitcoin. And so, and that, it was 5 years later, right? So Bitcoin happens 5 years later, we had Ethereum come, and it's still, they're both still work in progress. But as we know in our astronomy, right, is the solar system the biggest thing in the world? So what's bigger than the solar system, right? What's the next leap up? We have galaxies, right? Solar systems are all part of galaxies. And so as I look across the frontier over to what it's been 5 years now that Ethereum's been around. So now I see the galaxy as Polkadot. Right, Polkadot is so big that it can swallow Ethereum as one solar system, and it can have what they call parachains. And I think that's the next horizon that we're going to see after the big DeFi craze dies down. People are going to expand their view, and I think Polkadot is the galaxy that we're going to be seeing next.
So before we get to Polkadot, you did talk about DeFi, right? And for those of you who aren't aware, there's this phrase that has been kind of being circulated around called DeFi, decentralized finance. And to be honest, it's almost difficult to define what it is because everybody just uses it kind of interchangeably with everything, right? But it's essentially kind of how it sounds: decentralized finance, right? It's smart contracts interacting with the altcoin market, right? There's been a lot of different ideas with DeFi that are being implemented, and there's a couple that are really popular right now. So a lot of people are actually throwing in money into cryptocurrencies right now through DeFi, and they're just turning over 100, 200, 300, 400, 500% returns in like a very short period of time. I mean, I've followed some people on YouTube who are following this space, and they're just killing it right now. I know, Mark, you've been toying around with it. Can you kind of explain a little bit more about DeFi and kind of what people are doing right now in the space and kind of, what they're up to? And just as a disclaimer too, this isn't necessarily, I think, right for everybody to kind of play around with this. This is kind of complex, and I think there are a lot of risks associated with doing something like this. And they do talk about how a lot of these things could collapse at any moment, but a lot of people who are taking the time to learn about it and kind of throw a little bit of money at it are kind of getting some crazy returns right now. And I think that is kind of blowing up the cryptocurrency market and kind of causing this altcoin boom right now. But can you talk a little bit about DeFi and how that's kind of being used right now?
Right. So decentralized finance kind of started about a year ago with it's called the MakerDAO, and it was a fund that people could put in different kinds of tokens, and it has its own native token called DAI. And what people were doing was they were putting in wrapped Ethereum, wrapped Bitcoin, first kind of introduction of this new concept. And the token itself, the MakerDAO, kind of reflected the overall amount of the value of all the people that were putting in funding it.
What's the wrapped Ethereum mean?
People it's only used inside the decentralized protocol itself. So in MakerDAO, it's a way to earn, they have to have some incentive to be able to fund these tokens, these accounts. So they'll wrap the Ethereum inside that token. That means it's a cell inside the MakerDAO token. It doesn't live outside of the MakerDAO. It lives within inside the MakerDAO.
So if I go to Wells Fargo and I deposit some money, they give me an IOU.
It's sort of the thing, right? You could take your funds out of the MakerDAO and take it out of wrapped Ethereum back outside of that membrane and become regular Ethereum again. But it's mostly in its own ecosystem that several of the different protocols are now copying. So it started with MakerDAO, and now we have an explosion of different kinds right there. There's one with the symbol Lend, right? It started out with a company called ETHLend, and now they've changed their name to AAVE, but they haven't changed their ticker symbol. But there's a whole bunch of these as an example, and banks, they're taking the same kind of approach as physical financial houses, right? The financial services banks, they'll take different stock options, repackage them using different methods they have with their accounting, make synthetic products out of them and reshuffle them as different collateralized objects over and over and over and over again. And every time they repackage that and sell it to somebody else, they get a commission on it. So the mortgage crisis is one example. They took all these mortgages, they bundled them together and made a debt obligation, a mortgage debt obligation loan, and then started passing them around, and things kind of blew up. Well, you can kind of do the same things. That mortgages are kind of scary, but you can do these with cryptos as well in the crypto world, and they repackage those and put them in these new tokens like Lend and Balancer and Synthetics. There's a whole bunch of these that are coming along, but now that's become the go-to word, right? Just like in 2000, we had the .com. If you were a .com, you could add 100% to your price. Pets.com. I was working at the time for Albertsons, and they said Albertsons is a good company with a strong symbol, but if you did Albertsons.com, your price would go double or triple. In the 2017, the same kind of things happened. We had seen some regular companies that decided they were going to do an ICO, like Kodak. If they just put an ICO or a dot, Bitcoin or whatever name, add Bitcoin to their name, all of a sudden their price would explode as well. So ICO was the magic word. And now the magic word, if you just start Googling it, is DeFi. Adding DeFi to your name or your objective, all of a sudden now quadruples the value of your coin or your project or your company. So there's a whole bunch of people FOMOing, fear of missing out, into anything that sounds like a DeFi project. And there's a lot of people taking advantage of that, even though they're not DeFi or anything related to DeFi. They're kind of suckering people in, scamming people in to thinking that they're kind of a DeFi type of project. But DeFi has so much potential, and my Facebook group, I've kind of mentioned this. All of the money in the world adds up to about $100 trillion. All the liquid money in all the world added together, about 100 trillion. There's a market for derivatives. You know, the mortgage-backed securities, they're all derivatives for insurance and for interest rates. There's a whole other world that people use, the bankers use as gambling halls, really. They take all this money that they have, the stimulus money, and they don't invest it in people necessarily. They want the highest returns, and so they put it into these derivatives contracts. Well, the notional value of all the derivative contracts together equals about $2 quadrillion. So 10 times the entire money in the world is stacked up in these contracts, derivative contracts. Well, the thing is, all these people get paid, all these companies get paid anytime that you repackage and re-synthetic, make these all over and over and over again. There's friction, right? Somebody's getting paid every time this happens. So in the world of decentralized finance, you could all do this with smart contracts. And it may take a decade, it might take 2 decades, but there's a whole bunch of companies that are, you know, they have an existential crisis right now. The things they do for a living could all go away with these things on decentralized finance. And right now, that all happens on Ethereum. So that's why you're seeing Ethereum go up, and I have a feeling we're just at the beginning stage of another huge bull market for that. Some are calling for $10,000 and $15,000 Ethereum tokens. So
Not right away.
yeah, this over time, as the DeFi market continues to take over the regular markets, these are the kinds of things that people are seeing, the managers are seeing. The people from, you know, MicroStrategy, Wall Street firm, they're seeing the stuff writing on the wall. JP Morgan's just sold or just bought out Consensus. You hear about that? The big, right? The big Ethereum. They're giving up. They were working on a banking protocol called Corda that was based on Ethereum. They've been working on it for 4 years. They've given it up to Consensus now. So they're giving a $50 million fund for Consensus. Anyway, the whole banking system right now has built up a derivative of Ethereum. They're all going in on Ethereum. So you're not seeing Tezos, you're not seeing EOS, you're not seeing anybody else. You're seeing all the big banks, the countries, everything is going and rushing to where the establishment is, and that's on Ethereum right now.
So this whole thing called DeFi, and I don't want to take too much time. I got about a minute here, and then I want to talk about the economy. But this whole thing, DeFi, has been creating this this altcoin market boom, right? Because some people have been seeing, I mean, we talked a lot about Chainlink, right? Chainlink went up from $2 this year to what, $18 and keeps on climbing. We've seen a lot of other cryptocurrencies and altcoins going up, you know, 100, 200%. I mean, I've seen 900%. It's out of control. I mean, just a small amount of money and you're completely in a different tax bracket. You know, so this whole altcoin boom, you also have Bitcoin, which has been growing, but I think we capped out about 12,000. I think it's ready to break 12,000 and go to new all-time highs, even break 20,000, but I think we might have a little bit of a pullback. But you sort of get this yin and yang with the altcoins and Bitcoin, at least in the past, right? So during the ICO boom in 2017, people were making a lot of money with the altcoins, right? They were putting money into ICOs, and then it quadruples in value. And then, people make so much money in altcoins, they see Bitcoin kind of get pulled back a little bit. You're kind of seeing the market cap for Bitcoin pull back a little bit compared to the altcoins. And then what happens is once the altcoin size is big enough, or it's kind of reached its, maximum size, then that money rushes into Bitcoin. And then all of a sudden you see Bitcoin skyrocket in value, break new highs, and then, it kind of blows up its market cap again. Altcoins take a big dive. You'll see things drop by 50%, 70%, 90%, right? People are crying, because they've lost everything in altcoins. But Bitcoin's high because everybody started throwing money into Bitcoin. And then you kind of see that yin and yang pull back a little bit. I mean, are we in an altcoin season right now? Do you see that happening right now, this year? Or what do we kind of think is going to happen with this kind of yin and yang cycle?
Right. So in 2017, traditionally the Bitcoins held 90% of all the crypto market. All the other crypto coins added together would be about 10%. About 2017, we saw that really flip. 2014, we had a bunch of Bitcoin copycats. If you look at CoinMarketCap, you can go, one of their tools is history. You can go back to the month and the year. So go back and look in 2013, December, when it really peaked. Bitcoin went from like $2 to $1,000 in 2013, and you saw an explosion of Bitcoin ripoffs. You know, they copied and pasted the white paper and called it, you know, Feathercoin or whatever. Might have tweaked one or two little things, but people were fooled, right? They wanted to get onto that Bitcoin wagon, and they thought, oh man, it's $1,000. I should have got it when it was at 2 cents or whatever. So the scam artists came out and built their own quote unquote coins, and you'll see that it exploded. In 2013, you saw there was about 60 coins total. In fact, I was joking around with some people in January. There was an exchange called Cryptsy back then, and my goal was to buy at least one of every single token that was on the market at all. And so I got onto Cryptsy and I bought at least $5 of every token that was invented in the world at that time. And of course, almost all went to zero. If you go look at that historical page, Bitcoin's still there, and you might see one or two. Litecoin, I think, is still, you know, there. Yeah, I wish. There's deadcoins.com, right? You can go see all the ones that have died. But in 2017, you kind of saw a repeat of that. You know, it was another altcoin market, and you saw the amount of people that were trying to get into saw Ethereum just explode that year, right? Everybody wants to be in the new Ethereum. You've seen the EOS and Tesla, all these things, quote unquote, Ethereum killers. And you saw the Bitcoin dominance ratio go from 90% down to about 40% at its lowest. In fact, there's a lot of people on the Ethereum Reddit boards called something, they were announcing that the flippening was going to happen. There was going to be more market cap in Ethereum than there was in Bitcoin. It was going to flip from Bitcoin to Ethereum. It got really close there. It got, 40% to 36%, something. We were really close there for a bit. And then they went their own separate ways, but now, and then went back to kind of the Bitcoin ratio is down, but about 65 to 70% after that, right? We had the big altcoin crash in the beginning of 2018. Bitcoin went back up to its normal ratio, which has been about 66% commonly. But now with all the DeFi movement, there's no DeFi happening on Bitcoin. All the DeFi, and you see Chainlink, a lot of people call Chainlink a DeFi project. It's not. It crosses all spectrums. But you saw Chainlink go from, I bought it at 12 cents, right? Now $18 we saw today. So now everybody wants to get on the new Chainlink. So there's a whole bunch of copycats for Chainlink. But it's going nuts again, right? So so there's a whole bunch of confluencing factors, right? The economy, the inflation, the coronavirus, the DeFi, all these new technologies, and people are just rushing in. So it's a mad market. People FOMOing again, and so you'll see eventually, this market will crash like they always do, and what we'll likely see is a lot of people take their profits from these altcoins and then go back into Bitcoin. The one for stability. So those are the people that are skittish that will recognize and not be holding the bag. A lot of people held the bag a little bit too late after things crashed, and now they're finally seeing the light, like, oh, okay, finally I can get rid of this bag or find something else. But that's right. Now you'll create new bags. But now hopefully you've learned a lesson, right? Take your profits as you go. Don't wait till it's too late to take your profits. And that was a big lesson a lot of people learned. I took just enough to retire, but I still, was holding the bag for a lot of the stuff too. So I'm not immune.
You know what they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you're not going to fool me again. All right. So anyway, I do want to take 5 minutes real quick, and then we'll get to the questions to talk about the economy. And we were kind of joking around about this, and I don't want to get into the Republican Democratic, type of back and forth, but I think this is kind of reminiscent of The Big Short, the movie The Big Short. For those of you who haven't seen it, essentially it was a group of hedge funds, investors, institutions that thought that the housing market was going to collapse. So they purchased some big short positions, and they thought that the housing market would collapse. Those short positions would pay in the money. They'd make a ton of money by doing so. And they just kind of looked at the writing on the wall and said, oh yeah, the housing market's definitely going to collapse. So I might as well put in these short positions and make money. Well, they were right, and the market collapsed in 2008, and they did make a ton of money. And Brad Pitt was playing one of the institutions that had shorted the market while the other people were celebrating, saying we just made so much money, we're never gonna have to work again because we got this bet right. Brad Pitt comes in and says, there's going to be a lot of pain out in the marketplace, a lot of unemployment. There's going to be people are going to lose their jobs. There's going to be people who can't afford their houses. They're going to go homeless, live on the street, and people aren't going to be able to buy things like food. There could even be riots. In 2000, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because in 2017, when we first kind of started talking about Bitcoin, is, this is the perfect hedge in case the US dollar collapses or the economy collapses, right? There's this independent, thing that can cross borders around the world. And, there's, basically a group like us in every part of the world. In every single city or country, there's a Bitcoin person. And so I'm looking at the current state of affairs of the economy, and you have an event like the coronavirus in March that came out, and we had to shut down the economy for a couple months, and people were laid off, so you have high unemployment. As a way to help the unemployment, you have government deciding to issue out some stimulus checks, one-time stimulus payments, along with some unemployment benefits. To help keep people kind of around, to kind of spend a little bit of money. On the big side, from a business standpoint, you have a lot of funding going to small businesses. I mean, I run my small business. I got to tell you, super easy to get government money. You apply, you give them some paperwork. There were so many businesses applying for money. They just basically dished it out, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars out to the economy for people to spend. The virus is still around, so there's going to be another round of money printing, right? Democrat, Republican, I mean, you got this president right now, which honestly doesn't really seem like he's at the helm right now on this particular issue. You have kind of this crisis forming. You have this health pandemic, which you can't really do much about except for just kind of try to follow the science. But you have this economic kind of impact taking place, a lot of money printing. This is the kind of event that you see cryptocurrencies becoming adopted. I mean, people want to get their money out of dollars and into some hard assets. Can you talk a little bit about the economy and how this is going to kind of shape up a little bit?
Well, it's important to remember, and I said, I could see Bitcoin being $1 million, but that's not a good thing. If Bitcoin's at $1 million, the world's on fire, because that's our only life raft left. So we can all say, yeah, we got Bitcoin at $1 million, and be celebrating and patting ourselves on the back, but the rest of the world's on fire. You have people in lives really in turmoil around the world at that point. So we're kind of in a good spot here in the know to be able to know and see what's coming and be able to be prepared for that. But it's another thing to try and tell other people, right? They still think this is a dark money, whatever. They're still 10 years behind, and this is some magical internet money or whatever. They don't realize yet that this is new gold, and this is a new life raft that can help save people. And maybe Bitcoin's not the one. Maybe there's going to something that comes up and replaces Bitcoin, but it'll be some kind of blockchain technology. And if it's not Bitcoin, it's going to have to be something amazing, because I don't see anybody. The thing about Bitcoin is it's backed by physics, right? The only way to get it is to burn electricity through Bitcoin mining, and you can't fake that. You can't fake physics. And what I predict, and I mentioned this in a class I gave, it's been 4 years ago now that I gave that class, that it may get to a point where nations themselves mine Bitcoin because it's neutral. Who's going to trust the China? China's coming up with their own currency. The Fed's going to come up with its own currency, but it's still fiat. It's still based on, fiat's Latin for let it be done, right? Or just imagining this in and says it's money because I said so. Well, who's going to bet on, you see America printing money like crazy. The dollar, the worth of the dollar is going way down. All the other countries are selling dollars right now because they see what's happening. This dollar's going to lose its value. Right. But where do you go, right? Whose currency's better? We're the, right. Everybody trusts Putin and the ruble, right? Yeah. So what currency is actually neutral? Gold, of course, but now you can't transport gold. Gold's got a bunch of reasons that it's the last century, right? So I can't see anything with Bitcoin. Yeah, right. That's how money started. Is IOUs writing receipt checks for gold. So it's only as good as the person who's writing those checks. Anyway, I guess the short of it is, we're in a tumultuous time, and it's easy for us because we're in the know and we can be in these assets that will go up in value. We see that they could skyrocket in value, but it's just kind of important to keep in mind that everybody around you doesn't share that same happiness.
Right. And would you like to say anything else, and then we'll open it up for questions?
No, I can't really think of anything. I on the Facebook group, I talk about a little about some of these new DeFi tokens that I'm really interested in. A lot of experimental stuff out there. So it's a lot of really fun, exciting times. And since we're stuck staying at home, can't really travel much, might as well, put my research to use. So that's kind of what I did for years and years and years. Like James said, 10,000 way more than 10,000 hours of research into all this stuff. And as Wendy, my wife, could tell you now, it's kind of gone back to the 14, 18, 20-hour days of digging in and doing research all the time about this new technology. Now that it's exciting again.
I think my advice is, don't invest more than you can afford to lose. If you start seeing Ethereum skyrocket and Chainlink skyrocket, Bitcoin skyrocket and go up in value, over the next, year or so, then, just be careful, right? People get in trouble. I've gotten in trouble. I mean, during this last bear market, it was very painful for myself. It was painful for a lot of people. I mean, you lost so much value so quickly. So just as easy as it is to kind of get caught up in this market and to get excited and to see those 100% gains, just be careful. Nothing replaces just having, kind of a well-diversified type of portfolio where, you're kind of holding on to kind of a little bit of everything. So
one of the YouTube people I follow has, some good 2 rules that are really excellent for investing in cryptocurrencies. First is do not FOMO. The second is do not FOMO. So I totally agree with that. When you feel your heartbeat going exciting, you think you got to get in and cash it, get as fast as you can and get some money and get into the system. Take a step back, think about it, sleep on it, relax. Don't if you feel a bit of panic in any kind of way, sleep on it, and then don't put all your eggs in one basket. That people say, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? Well, I was in Ethereum, I was in the ICO, but what people don't know, it wasn't just luck. I was in, like I said, on Cryptsy, I was in 40 different cryptocurrencies. 90% of them went to nothing. I just diversified into a whole bunch of bets, and then you just need 1 or 2 of those horses to come out ahead. Chainlink, I was in 50 coins. Chainlink at 12 cents was 1 of 50. That, and Celsius both went 10x, at least 10 times. But a lot of them went to 0. So it's just a matter of a lot of it's luck. There was no way I could guarantee Chainlink was going to be the one, but I had a big suspicion that would do it. But, a lot of where I've been is just luck.
all right. Well, since we're talking about risk management, and I think everyone should have really a risk management hat on in this space. So, this is my HODL hat. It's also my risk management hat. There's a question here on exit strategy. So research top 5 metrics and where to find red flags that trump all the positive metrics. So for example, anonymous teams, what percentage of your portfolio should be in alts versus Bitcoin, and Ethereum. What's something, I guess, reading that is like a red flag that you should kind of keep in mind. What percentage should you be putting into Bitcoin, altcoins, so that way you don't kind of bet the farm.
So my biggest positions, and I can't make anybody else advice for anybody else, right? So I'll tell you what I'm doing. About 70%, 75% of my total allocation went between Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that could go half and half. Some people will say weight it more to Bitcoin. I say weighted it more to Ethereum. I can see both ways. But then I see the fundamentals of Chainlink. And Chainlink, like I said, went from 12 cents to 18 bucks. And it's gone from just a small smidgen of my portion. I've just let it go, right? I haven't sold hardly any of it. So it now makes even bigger proportion than Bitcoin does. So now I have a close to the same, now the top 3, and I probably won't sell any of those 3. I might sell a little bit here and there. You have to take your profits. But the thing is, we're transforming into a new world of cryptocurrencies. Up till now, you had to wait until someone else would buy it for more than you spent it. Whatever, you made your profit by buying it at a certain price and then selling it for someone higher to someone who valued it more than you did, right? They're willing to pay more and you're willing to sell it. They value it more than you do. But the world we're turning into now is passive income, right? You don't have to sell your crypto. You can use it as an asset and make passive income on it through staking or through lending. I think that is the new dimension that we're going to go into at this point. So don't think, as you think about your exit strategies, just kind of keep that in mind. You don't necessarily need to sell your good ones, the big ones at least.
So the question you just brought up here, thoughts on sell and why not exit or sell later?
Well, you do, right? You have to sell some, but it's very nuanced, right? You have to sell some of these, because we're not quite there yet, right? We're in the new world of staking and the DeFi movement, right? You can stake these coins, you can fund these projects and earn tokens, you earn income basically off them. So so what are you going to sell for, right? You get cash. Well, what's the purpose? You're going to get American dollars when you sell them. Would you rather own American dollars or crypto right now, right? Which do you value more? Sometimes you got to pay the bills, right? Crypto necessarily doesn't pay the bills. But if I'm in Celsius, and I've got USD coin and I'm making 9% on USD coin, once you've earned enough in Bitcoin and Ethereum, whatever, you don't necessarily need to get in dollars. You can be USD coin is still a token and you can still be making interest. I could put in $100,000 of Bitcoin in Celsius and make 4.5% and never have to sell my Bitcoin, right? It's at some point, if you're investing wisely and these things go up in value like we suspect, they can be your bank. They can act as your personal bank. You can get loans against them. You can do staking against them. You can lend stuff out. You can make money on this without having to go back into the regular world. So as far as exit strategies, keep that in mind. For Chainlink, I sold some when it hit $16, right? $15, maybe 10%. If it hits $20, maybe I'll do 10%. 25, maybe 10% of what's left over. I think it'll hit 50, maybe 10%. I think it'll go to 100. Maybe 10% after that, but there's no way I'm selling all of my Chainlink. Now you're going to be able to stake Chainlink. I can use Chainlink and you can fund a lot of these DeFi coins. You can put, there's one called Balancer and there's one called, I can't remember the name, but there's quite a bit that you could put Chainlink in and then be earning income as part of those synthetic investments, right? So up until now, people have always thought exit strategies, when you sell. And I'm saying passive income.
So here's a question right here. Mark, since we can't get in on Ethereum, you both lost places. You both.
Hey, James, would you mind putting the microphone up so we can hear the question?
Yep. So, Mark, since we can't get in on Ethereum at 25 cents and you both lost money playing with the alts, what do you think is a good way to get ahead?
Well, I wouldn't say I necessarily lost money. If you started looking at Chainlink was one of the alts, right, that I bought. And so I have to, if we looked at it at the end of the year, which is when I was making the analysis, at the end of the year, I says I could have stayed in Ethereum and not had to worry about all the taxes and all the ins and outs, the headaches, the frustrations, and I'd still be where I'm at today. Now, if I look at those same coins, because I'm still holding on to the same, it may be slightly ahead being there now. But so the question is, what was the question?
So the question on that one was, what do you think I can do to get ahead?
It's about catching up and getting growth.
Right. So a lot of it is, you look at these very low cap stocks or the low cap tokens. Like I mentioned in the Watch My Wallet group, Ring token. I mentioned it about a week ago and it was 3 cents. I really see a lot of potential. Like I said, Polkadot is what I see being the next Ethereum. I see it being bigger than Ethereum possibly. And one of the value tokens of that is called Ring, and it's within a week it went to 6 cents. It's been at 9 cents, right? So placing a lot of little bets over a lot of really exciting tokens while they're cheap, while they're low cap, can catch you up. Now, putting all your eggs in one basket is a really bad idea. So like I said, and I didn't say, but maybe one Ethereum a piece is one, and I've got a lot of Ethereum still. So that's a tiny, tiny little bet for me. And the key is now what I'm considering, which I learned from last time, is take my initial investment out. These could be really explosive growth. They could go 10x. They could go 3 or 4x. But as soon as it doubles, take my original out, put it back in Ethereum, keep it where it's safe, and then watch for the next horse. There's going to be a ton of projects come because everybody's following the DeFi herd. And we'll watch for good projects, and then we'll put, just 1 or 2 Ethereum, let it double, take it back out. So then you're working on the house's money and maybe get 30, 40, 50 projects, enough that you can kind of keep track of, because a lot of times they'll make big announcements, and if you're not keeping up on it, you'll lose your money.
That's a good point, though, because back in 2017, we both fell for that, where we ended up with 50 to 60 coins, right? Because we were investing in every single ICO because they were going up so fast. And then what happens is you end up losing track of those coins.
EOS is a prime example. They did their fundraising on Ethereum, but they were going to make their own blockchain all the time. They were just using that to collect money. And if you didn't buy it, they set up a certain date, you needed to, put those coins to a certain address, and they would convert those to EOS on their entirely different blockchain. And if you miss that date, they blew up, right? You completely lost all the money that you had put into that investment. And I did. I had so many things to keep track of that I lost track. And EOS wasn't the only one. There was probably 4 or 5 that made their own blockchain, and I was supposed to cash mine into an address that they gave, that they converted it to the new token on the new blockchain, and I blew it. Probably 4 or 5 times. It was several thousands of dollars I lost just because I had too much. I spread myself too thin. So you kind of have to if you're going to make a lot of little investments, make it enough that you can kind of keep track of them, and don't spread yourself so thin.
So the question was, what size should you be putting into these different bags, right? So you're thinking about 1 Ethereum would be appropriate right now?
Well, I say 1 Ethereum to me is nothing, though, right? I've made a lot of money on this stuff. So $400, $500 is not a percent of a percent, right? So it's different for everybody. 1 Ethereum per, $400 a coin, or what is it, $450 today? To some people might be a ton. And if Ethereum goes up to 1,000, that could be a ton. So everybody's risk tolerance is different. So when I say 1 Ethereum, we're talking just a tiny little bit amount for me. So proportional to my amount, you'd have to run those numbers for yourself. What's 1/10 of 1% of expendable money for you that you could toss around, and if you lose, you wouldn't lose any sleep.
Okay. And can you go into a little bit more detail about Polkadot and what's good about it, and why is it a game changer?
Polkadot is a blockchain of blockchains, right? So I mentioned it as a galaxy, and it can swallow up all of these universes. So we have Cosmos. How many different blockchains do we have out there? Tezos, EOS, Chainlink. We have a ton. Tron, yeah. Oh, Tron. We make fun of Tron. But they can't talk to each other, right? So Polkadot is a way to do cross-chain organization, right? They call them parachains. So Ethereum will run on one parachain. If you look at it like a coronavirus, that's one way to look at it. Every spike of the corona could be another blockchain, and Polkadot is the membrane that holds them all together, that feeds them back and forth, lets them communicate back and forth. Unless you're a Bitcoin maximalist, we realize there's going to be a lot more blockchains, and there's room for a ton of them, and they can all play happy together. And banking might need their own. Gambling might need their own. They might need to be isolated from themselves. Each country may run their own blockchain. Their whole financial system may be separated on an entire blockchain themselves. So Polkadot has the vision of realizing there needs to be an international banker of settlements, right? In the banking world, we have that, an international banking settlement. It controls all the banks in the world. So if you use that analogy, Polkadot kind of acts as that role for all the blockchains in the world. And it has, of course, it's not set in stone. The Cosmos also has a similar kind of program, and they have a coin called the Atom. But the one for Polkadot is different because it's super respected. It's going to be using the International Planetary File System, or Filecoin. It's got a ton of respect. It's created by Gavin Wood, which is the co-creator of Ethereum himself. He's the one that wrote the Ethereum virtual machine. He spun off of Ethereum. He's super respected, and so Polkadot has everything going for it basically. And that's why I see it on the horizon as the next big thing.
One of the questions is Celsius. How much to stake, the risk, best place to stake it, amongst others. But first off, why don't you just tell me a little bit about Celsius?
Celsius was the first kind of bank for cryptocurrency. It's run by Alex Machensi. I can't remember his last name for sure. It's a Polish name. He's the guy for when you make a long distance call across the country now, back in the 80s, it used to be $3-4 a minute, right? That's the OG people. We can remember we had, you could call, there was advertisements, dial 1111, and you could prepay minutes. Anyway, the new invention called voice over IP came along, who made voice calls happen over the internet. Now, every call that you make now, local, cellular, international, everything goes over the internet now. Everything goes over voice over IP. And it's because of the invention of this one man, Alex, who's now running Celsius. So the guy is not dumb. He started 7 or 8 companies, and he's a billionaire, multi-billionaire. He could have retired and been doing nothing and traveling the world. And he says he started to and got bored. So he changed the entire world as far as the network, as far as telephone companies around the world. And he thought the next challenge was he wanted to change banking around the world. So he started the Celsius coin, the Celsius company, and they were the first to allow you to put your tokens on their platform, and they'll pay you interest on them. And they become the first to actually you could take out loans for them. Salt was going to be able to do that, and Salt ran into the ground. Celsius is actually doing it. I was in on their ICO. I picked up some. I mean, they were around 30 cents in the ICO, but they dropped when they first hit the market. You could pick them up for 3 cents. So I actually bought a ton more at 3 cents, so I could average out my average buy-in price. But now they're, 40, 45 cents. I watched his weekly AMA, Ask Me Anything interviews, and he says the reason the price has kind of been going down the last couple of weeks is because one of his gigantic big ICO investors is finally cashing out and he's doing a little bit by little bit by little bit, but a whole bunch new come to market, so that of course absorbs into the price. But he says he's about done with that now, so we'll probably see the price of Celsius spike back up.
Just to talk a little bit about Celsius from a financial standpoint, they look like a bank to me, a bank that takes deposits. And so you have to use their application, whether it's an iPhone or an Android. They don't really have a functional website you can go to, but they still have security, 2-factor authentication, PIN number, but they are paying you interest in cryptocurrency. So if you deposit Bitcoin, you can opt in to receive Bitcoin as interest. You can deposit Ethereum, you get interest in Ethereum. And if you're in the United States, you cannot receive interest in Celsius unless you deposit Celsius, you get interest in Celsius. So that kind of stinks. But I actually have been slowly putting more money into Celsius to actually just hodl and earn interest. A little dirty secret is during the government bailouts, I got my own little stimulus package from the government with an EIDL loan. And, I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, free money, might as well take it, see what happens. Who knows how bad this thing's going to get. And so I was sitting with my bank account with the money in my Wells Fargo account. And I was like, I'm not really earning anything at all on this. So what I did is I said, I'm just going to treat this like a money market account, converted it to stable coins, USDC, because I like them a little bit more than Tether. I deposited them onto Celsius, and I'm earning 8.69% on that right now. And so I'm pretty much making money for I owe my government 3.75%, and I'm earning 8.69% on a stable coin. And I've just been putting more and more there. And so they are doing good. I'm feeling a lot more confident with them, and so I think they're a really good project. And there are a lot more groups right now that are paying deposits, interest on your cryptocurrency, and I think that's actually healthy for the place, right? Well, yeah. So professionally, I do Bitcoin loans, and I buy and sell Bitcoin through institutions, right? So most of my institution loans are large notional value. We'll do, small $100,000 loans. If somebody has Bitcoin, we'll give them dollars. We'll also go to like $5 million, $10 million, $20 million. Last year, we lent out about $100 million in Bitcoin loans. And so all the institutions right now over the last couple of years have been setting up the piping. So that way we can easily just transfer money back and forth, right? And it's essentially swapping Bitcoin for dollars. And so Celsius is one of the groups that I work with. And I mean, them and a lot of other groups, Salt Lending, along with a handful of probably about 20 others, we're all just swapping Bitcoin for dollars. And so they're professional. We all have an ISDA agreement in place, which is a lot of institutions use that for international swaps and derivatives. So essentially the Wall Street model of being able to swap cryptocurrency in dollars is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so Celsius is a good counterpart to work with. So let's see another question here. What are your thoughts on Ravencoin?
Ravencoin looked like a good project. Yeah. Hey, Tron Black. He's one of the head people with Ravencoin. Ravencoin's an interesting project, but they're acting like a digital a cash, a currency, and competing against Bitcoin and Dash and some of these others. It looks like a really cool project, but I'm just not really into currency stuff anymore. I've got a little bit of position in Bitcoin, but now my new focus is on these new internet, the DeFi movement and the cross-chain things with Polkadot. So it's kind of fallen out of my purview of interest right now, but it seems like a good project.
There you go. That's a safe answer. Okay, so trying to do my own research, but there is so much info out there, and it gets a little overwhelming. Who are some good people to follow?
I like to crunch things down. So there's of course a lot of reading. A lot of it's very technical reading. It's dry. But I'm a technical guy. I've spent a lot of time reading white papers and writing technical manuals and whatnot, but it's pretty bad. So what I've done more recently is YouTube videos. There's a ton of different YouTube people talking about crypto coins, and most of them are junk. Most of them don't know what they're talking. Most of them are shields. Most of them are idiots. But they're kind of a good way to gauge market sentiment. And in the Watch My Wallets group, I've kind of linked a couple on occasion of people that I like. So there's Ivan on Tech. He's a guy every morning. He's I think in Switzerland. He does a show. He looks like he's on cocaine every morning. He's supercharged and he's drawn his coffee. But I like him. The guy, he knows the stuff, and he's involved with a lot of companies. He's got a lot of interconnections. So I like him. And then there's one that Michelle kind of had me get on, Chico. Crypto Chico. He's a druggie. He's a pothead. He talks about marijuana stuff, but the guy knows the stuff. The guy is a researcher, and he doesn't pump. He doesn't shield stuff. So when he mentions stuff, he's gone deep, balls deep into this stuff. And so I take what he says very seriously. And then he started to do a lot of cross comparisons with a lot of different people. There are probably too many to mention. Altcoin Daily, I think is one. But I like to get market sentiment, and someone asked, I think earlier, what's the secret weapon that trumps everything else? And market sentiment is huge, right? It's going to wane. It's going to get really hot, and people are going to be crazy, going in like crazy. But then it's going to crash. People are going to lose their interest. We go into those bear markets, the crypto winters. And so at some point you got to realize everything relies on sentiment, and that's related to world events and geopolitical events and everything else. You just kind of have to keep your thumb to the wind there a little bit and realize, just kind of eyeball, there are certain trends on the calendar that kind of happen. Like I said, 2.5-year bear markets, 18-month bull markets, rinse and repeat. So you have to kind of just watch for those sentiment changes, and looking at 5 or 6 YouTubers daily or whatever, just to kind of gauge if they're all talking about the same kind of coins. There's probably something to look into there. If they're all shilling different things or doing whatever, and I've kind of recognized the people who shill, and I quit following people like that. But they do a lot of work for you, right? You could sit there and research and dig in and spend half your day, or let them do it and tell you about it in 15 minutes, and then you go on to the next guy who's spent all his day doing research and gotten balls deep into his research, and then he'll do a 15-minute video. Take advantage of those guys, right? And as long as you find some people that you trust, you can get a week's worth of stuff in an hour, because they've done all the work for you and they're just reporting it to you for free. So save yourself a ton of work. Just follow the people that are trustworthy.
And how do you see Twitter's hack and the impact on the growth of Bitcoin? How do you see holding stable coins as a business? So, by the way, speaking of the Twitter hack, they found that guy pretty fast. I mean, like, if it was one of us, that guy would have disappeared. But because it was such a big hack, they found him pretty fast. But is that
an account on Binance? His wallet was like right to Binance, and they showed him his know your customer driver's license and stuff. They had him like that.
what an idiot? But anyway, so what do you think about that? Good for Bitcoin, bad for Bitcoin?
I'll tell you, when you've been around as long as we have, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. It won't affect anything. People remember that don't really know much about anything, and a lot of people, blame the coin, not the center or whatever. But we've seen major market. I saw Mount Gox crash, and $500 million stolen basically out of Mount Gox. If anything was going to kill Bitcoin and stain the image, whatever, it was that. So you see these little things are just blips on on almost nobody's radar. So that was a ripple. It doesn't mean anything. That was not even a fly on the windshield.
How do you see holding stable coins as part of your business? So as far as my own business, I mentioned earlier, I mean, I just kept USDC, and I'm earning a lot more interest than I was earning before. And so much better than just, if I'm paying, obviously I set aside money for taxes, and I set aside some money for expenses that I have upcoming. And so I've just been keeping it, in USDC and earning interest on it. And it's been working for me. But what do you think?
Well, you have to have money to live on, right? You need some kind of stability. And, I have super big faith in Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, but they could drop 50%. I wouldn't, you've been in this business a while, you wouldn't even lose any sleep over that. You call that a Wednesday. Right. But at some point you got to, pay the bills or whatever. So you got to keep some liquid cash. And of course, I'm retired, and I got to make sure, I pay the bills. And some of my non-crypto investments have, frankly, they've gone downhill. I've lost a lot of my my just normal income that was coming in every month based on failing investments outside of crypto. So it's not a bad idea to have liquid money that's available to pay your bills if you need emergencies or whatever. But I don't want to keep it in dollars, in cash, and earning 0% interest and losing the purchasing power because of inflation. Groceries are going up, everything's going up. So I've used stable coins stocked at Celsius as a way to be very liquid. I could move those over to Coinbase and out to my bank in 2 days, 3 days. So, but I'm earning 9%, 8.9 or whatever percent interest on those. So I'm not losing purchasing power. So it's not a bad idea to keep a certain portion of your wealth very liquid, but banks are a terrible place to keep it. So that's a good alternative as far as I'm concerned, to be halfway in the crypto world, halfway into the regular banking world, stay liquid. But if you needed to move that in a quick way to buy some Bitcoin, you don't have to wait for bank deposits to come through the 3-day, Coinbase prison, is what we called it. So you have money available to you right there. So as far as now, the announcements today on Coinbase, they now will do Bitcoin loans. You see that on Coinbase? They'll give you, they'll charge you up to $20,000, and they'll charge you 8% interest. So I'm like, what? Well, Celsius was doing this 2 years ago. Welcome to 2 years ago. And by the way, Celsius is doing it for 1% loans. So they're still way behind Celsius.
But anyways, there's a loan to value on how much you post. So for example, if you have $100,000 worth of Bitcoin and you get yourself $20,000, it's a 20% loan to value. So, you just lost yourself 80% value, for volatility. But anyway,
let me tell you one more thing on Celsius. I didn't realize it till just recently is if you take out a loan on your Bitcoin, for example, they don't pay you, and they give you that 1% loan. They don't pay you the interest on the amount that you're borrowed against, right? That stops. That's how you get some of that 1% loan. So you can't earn 4% and take a 1% loan out at the same time. You have to pick one or the other.
And then also, if you are going to be using stable coins, something to keep in mind, and I see this a lot, is transaction fees really take away from your value, right? So, for example, if I deposit stable coins into Celsius, I get this great percentage. That's wonderful. But then if I'm having to pay a 1% withdrawal fee or a 1.5% transaction fee to try to withdraw it and get it into fiat, I just lost all the interest for that month. So, something to kind of keep in mind as far as your timeline. And you really want to have a good process as far as what Mark said. I can easily transfer it from Celsius to Coinbase to my bank account in three business days or something like that. So that's important to know. Also, the withdrawal limits. So I run an OTC desk because I can do large amounts same day. But for places like Celsius, they're going to cap you at $50,000 withdrawals per day, right? So, if you need to suddenly be able to spend $200,000 on something, and all of a sudden you have 4 days of $50,000 withdrawals. So just keep that in mind.
Celsius is that way too. I think we're trying to transfer money in and out. I think it's about 20,000 a day. So if you're having to do a $200,000 purchase, whatever, yeah, you have to plan that out. It's not, to their defense, they're making money market moves and providing liquidity to exchange and stuff. So they need to be able to, know what they're dealing with, and they have most of their money in cold storage. So it's a process to get liquid for them to let you to cash out as well. So it's not necessarily blaming anybody. That's just how it all works.
But the stable coins are getting incredibly popular, and they're really useful for transferring around if you don't want to have to touch fiat. Mark, from an IT perspective, Bitcoin was a distributed database. Ethereum allows for smart contracts, which allow for little packets of computation. What's the next best thing that can guarantee distributed computation at scale?
I don't know about Hashgraph. I think Polkadot is onto something there. They're using sharding, so they're breaking up all the little packets for the different kinds of businesses and running it on its own kinds of network, right? So you could have DeFi on it, and sharding is basically ripping apart data structure into just like glass, right? They're breaking it up into little pieces and then they're reassembling it on the other side. But the thing is, when you shard, you can have a ton of things run in parallel. So instead of a single lane highway like you get Ethereum right now, everything has to be done one at a time, one in front of the other. All of a sudden, with sharding, you can do 100 lanes at once, right? It completely opens your bandwidth. So Polkadot is going to be doing sharding on a massive level, and they're going to be sharding all kinds of blockchains at the same time. So it's going to be like the super highway. So really dig in if you're want to look at the tech specs and distributed database and the communications and sharding. I would really look into the white paper and sink into as much as Polkadot as you can, because I truly believe that's the next dimension.
To clarify though, Polkadot's not something you can buy right now, right? This isn't something that you can. It's coming out, and there's things that support it, but it's not available. So how do you actually invest in Polkadot infrastructure if it's not available?
Right. So one of the YouTubers today, actually, if you go to Elliott Trade, I think is his name, Elliott Trade, like E.T. Elliott, right? He did a really good show today on Polkadot, and he mentions there's about 12 different coins that are related to Polkadot because there is a ton of work going on under the covers. The network doesn't come live until next quarter, but you could buy DOT tokens. They're over $3 billion now total, so they're not going to be worth investing in. They don't have a lot of room to grow anymore. But yeah, right. But there's Ring token. There's ChainX token. There are a lot of different tokens that are released, so you can invest in today, right now, that aren't live, but they're going to be layered and woven in as soon as that network goes live, right? And so we're talking 5-10 year process, right? You don't be thinking of this as a get rich quick scheme. What's going to happen overnight? Although it's possible that you'll see some just from the FOMO of other people. But be thinking this is going to take over the world, but it'd be a 5 to 10 year process, and it'll incorporate Ethereum and Bitcoin into those. So those are going to be all pieces woven into this big new structure.
So is Hashgraph anything to care about?
Well, I haven't followed Hashgraph. I know they did their blockchain alternative, but the problem with Hashgraph is it's a distributed ledger. It's like IoT, the Internet of Things, MIOT. They're kind of more of a distributed ledger. They don't have tokenomics, which is the big reason. That's the big difference between blockchains and other distributed ledgers. One has the economy built into the token. It has game theory built into the token. It has in financial incentive built into the token. And I didn't see that at my first glance with Hashgraph and some of these others. It was missing that important incentive.
You know, I appreciate that. If you don't know something, you're not going to try to BS your way through it. And I appreciate that. Thoughts on OXT, recently listed by Gemini. It's a privacy coin. Also, what are your thoughts on privacy coins in general right now?
I don't know about anything about OXT. I haven't looked at that at all. But privacy coins, it's a double-edged sword. I used to own a lot of different privacy coins, right? I owned some Dash that you could make private. I owned some Zcash, and I owned some Monero. And I think privacy is important, but you have to weigh that on both sides. If you're in a country that distance Venezuela or China or whatever, you know, if you're running into a dictatorship, that has a whole different level of importance than the United States. And the United States has their problems with the government and whatnot and privacy, but they could consider you suspicious if you own some of these kinds of things, right? Coinbase won't deal with Monero. They could put you on a suspicious activity report if they discover that you're using some of these coins, and the suspicious activity report is not a place you want to be, right? They don't even tell who's on there, who's not on there. It's a big secret. Anybody can put anybody on there. It's the secret police of banking, but it can affect you getting a loan or a mortgage or the interest you pay or when they come knocking at your door. So lately, for the last year, I've steered away from privacy coins just because I don't want to show up on somebody's suspicious activity report.
That, and they're just hard to use, to be honest. I mean, if you're like me, Mark, and I learned from you, obviously, but you know, you end up having so many different wallets and so many different exchanges, and you know, privacy coins, you know, try to operate their own node on, you know, your phone wallet or, you know, on a computer wallet. It's just they're so hard to use. They always have to upload the chain and move them around, and a lot of exchanges won't take them now. And so it's like, how do you cash out unless you find somebody peer to peer that will take it off your hands? You know, so yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think they're going away.
Yeah, the privacy coin started in the movement when anarchists were really popular. You know, the people that first ran into Bitcoin were kind of the criminals, right? The Silk Road, the people on the dark web. And then they kind of handed it off in a way as they got caught to the anarchists, right? That's when I started getting involved in Bitcoin Magazine. And it was the anti-government people and cyberpunks, and they wanted to have all the privacy, and they didn't believe in governments, and, you know, screw the man, and they were going to do whatever. That kind of was a big phase. And then, but you don't see a lot of anarchists around, right? That makes up a very little bit of the population. And the institutional and smart money got involved. And kind of that's where it's at now, right? But I think when James first got involved, it was still kind of being handed over from remember Jeff Burnswick and Acapulco, and even Trace Mayer is a bit of an anarchist, and you know, so they're now a kind of a fading portion of the whole crypto market and the whole crypto scene.
I'm just gonna kind of go through here real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. Compound and Cosmos, have you heard of those?
Yeah, Compound is one of the new DeFi tokens, and it exploded in value. People can make, we call it yield farming, right? You insert your coin, put your coin in, and you'll start earning interest basically on it. You'll earn a yield for putting it inside of these tokens. So Compound was a big one. Now they're selling the token on Coinbase, and they have some big backers, right? Some of the Parachain Capital, some of the big Wall Street investors. They, like I said, a lot of them are seeing the writing on the wall and seeing all these jobs on Wall Street going away, as smart contracts can do it without any human being involved. So they're trying to beat the market, and you know, they're getting in there before the rest of the world kind of figures out. So Compound is in one of those in that vein. And the other one was Cosmos, right? And that's the kind of the competitor to Polkadot. I think it's promising. That I know the token just went up quite a bit, and it's gone up and down. I think around $5 or $6 now. So I don't know what to say about it. I haven't researched it a ton. I know kind of what it is. I know a little bit about who's involved, but I don't really want to give a detailed answer because I haven't looked at it lately. And But my money, just by knowing who the teams are involved and knowing kind of the inner circles of who's involved, I'm putting my chips on Polkadot. If I'm going to look at Cosmos versus Polkadot, Polkadot is going to be where the village is built. And maybe there's a niche value in Cosmos but I need to revisit it. It's been over a year since I looked at what's going on lately.
One of the questions about Polkadot, obviously, we've been talking a little bit about that. What are some of the tokens that we could be researching, though, that are going to be part of Polkadot?
So yeah, look at the website, the YouTube video of the guy. ChainX was a big one. I know Ring was a big one. Edgeware was another big one. Katon, Kusana, I think is the test net that's on there. Just review his video. He's got like a bullet point of 12 of them. Dig into all of those. I need to get into there further. I've looked at Edgeware. I've looked at Ring. I've looked at the Kusana. It's an exploding world. I'll just tell you that. You could get lost for weeks just catching up on Polkadot.
Question from Michelle. When moon?
Yesterday.
Every 30 day, every summer solstice. All right. What are some industries that you think dApps are going to take over in the next 5 years? So industries that you think that dApps are going to take over in the next 5 years.
Well, Chainlink, I think, is ripe to take over a lot of things. It's the Oracle system. They're getting into gaming because of the randomness feature. People don't realize how hard it is for a computer to come up with something that's completely random. There's always some kind of process involved with it. So you're talking $1 million industries, NASA, everybody trying to find out how to make a truly random something. And Chainlink's kind of figured that out. But you're going to see gaming tokens, right? Non-fungible tokens, the armor, the things that are provably rare. So Chainlink's going to be intertwined into all kinds of those things. But so look at video games, right? The provably rare kind of non-fungible token items. That's going to be huge. And then you're looking at, DeFi. We keep talking about that. That's really going to change. A lot of people are going to find out their jobs are no longer needed in the next 5 to 10 years. And I don't know the timing exactly, but the saying is you overestimate what can be done in 5 years and you underestimate what could happen in 10 years. So I always think in that 5 to 10 year range, be looking at what could be disrupted, and smart contracts could disrupt everything. Governments, financial houses, derivative markets, trading market, investment houses. The imagination just goes wild once you start looking at the ripple effects of who gets involved when it reaches those stages.
Here's a really good question from Clayton. Something that I think about too. Veterans of 2017 right now are talking about massive pumps. What does that mean based on today's pricing? So, example, Chainlink, $2 earlier this year. It goes up to $8, and then all of a sudden it goes up to $12. Then it goes up to $15. Then it's at $18, and they're thinking like $30. There's this massive pump right now where things are going up 500%. Should you still be buying?
Well, I'm a veteran from 2013, and I've seen this come and go and come and go. We're in another bull cycle. You're going to see things pump. Now, you're going to see a lot of scams. You're going to see a lot of con artists come because they smell fresh meat, and they're going to feed on the newbies, right? The normals that are just barely getting in. You see those ads on the scam ads on. You probably run them all too, right? Send your 1 Bitcoin and we'll send you 10 back. Here's the QR code. It's like the Twitter. You're going to see a lot of newbies just get wrecked into that stuff.
Bitcoin
over and over, right? If you're following these crypto channels, you're going to see it 5 times in an hour.
Sending your Bitcoin will double it.
Right. And there's I won't talk about it. Yeah. There's a way to report those scams and get them off the air faster. Well, that's not for now, but these pumps are normal, right? We saw them in 2000. People that have been around, the OGs, man. We've seen these every 3 years. We go through those big 18-month bull runs. The scammers come, the newbies come, the fresh meat come, the pumps come, and there's some legitimate programs in there. Chainlink's a legitimate thing. I think it'll hit $100 still.
$18.
Right. I wouldn't. It's going to get ups and downs, right? It's from now. I was telling people.
At one
Well, I was telling people to buy it when it was 12 cents and it was an awesome deal. Now you're looking, okay, maybe it'll go 8x, but there's a whole bunch of things that could go 8x or 10x or 100x still. I don't think Chainlink's got 100x in it anymore, but Ring might. You know, some of these little low cap stocks that have enormous potential, they're going to pump, and you're going to see a lot of FOMO is what makes these pump. I'm telling you not to FOMO. Get in there before they all sleep on it. Think about what you're doing. But a lot of it, like Wayne Gretzky, he doesn't go where the puck is. He's going to where that puck's going to be. And so it's just a matter of understanding the market, knowing, you know, the psychology of how these guys pick these coins, when they're going to pick them. Keep your eyes out and open, talk to each other, communicate, because you're going to find out one person's going to see something that you didn't see and vice versa. So the important thing is form a team, form a gang, form some organizational structure so you can be very nimble, have money available, have it in a, you know, a stable coin or an Ethereum, you know, wallet like in MetaMask that's ready to go. When you find one of these things, you know, don't FOMO. But once you've done your research, you know what you're doing and you're comfortable with it, you don't want to wait too long about it. A lot of opportunities are missed. So you have to thread that line, and that's going to be different for everybody.
If you are going to try to take advantage of some of these massive pumps, though, and you do want to do some research and figure it all out, obviously, Mark mentioned to me Uniswap, right? And I just took a little bit of time to go through YouTube videos, just Googling Uniswap. It's a decentralized exchange, so it's similar to Ether. What was that old one that we used to use? Shapeshift, but like there was an Etherscan, not Etherscan.io, but there's an Ether exchange. Anyway, so it's a cryptocurrency decentralized exchange called Uniswap, and that's kind of what's causing the altcoin boom right now. Is a lot of the ERC20 tokens can be traded with each other back and forth, and
the interface is simple, right? The interface is so simple. You tell what coin you want to deposit and which coin you want to get back. The end. You know, there's not a whole lot of market making and, you know, confusing charts or whatever. It's what coin do you want to put in, what coin do you want to get out, and it uses. And I suggest you put in your MetaMask, have money in a MetaMask wallet. It's on your laptop, have it connected. It'll connect right to your MetaMask wallet. And you know that you couldn't make anything more simple than that. What goes in, you have an inbox and an outbox.
And I had been using, you know, I knew how to use MetaMask. I downloaded it before, and then I downloaded Uniswap, and so it's pretty useful. I mean, maybe at the end I can show you real quick if I share my screen what Uniswap looks like. But it's actually been, you know, probably not more than like, you know, for me, a couple days, a couple evenings, just playing around on YouTube and playing around with Uniswap and buying some things. So just something to kind of, that's what's driving a lot of the altcoin boom right now is Uniswap, because it's a super simple decentralized exchange, and people are being able to buy all kinds of altcoins super easy. You don't have to actually KYC or onboard,
right. That's what surprised me. There's nobody asking for identification, no place to put a driver's license in. It's just what coin do you want? Which coin do you want to sell? That's it.
And it's all ERC20 tokens as well, so it makes it super easy to store.
ERC20 is Ethereum, in case you didn't know the lingo.
Yep. So here with the blockchain lead, my favorite part was the pick of the week. Do you have a pick of the week to end on? Think about that and come back with it.
I'll say Ring. I
still.
I'm still really bullish on Ring. It's something you can get for, I don't know. I think it went up to 6 cents again today. But this is a low cap no brainer for me. I think this has easy 100x potential. I mean, if it doesn't, I'm sorry. You know, don't take that to the bank. But I've called a lot of good ones. I've called some bad ones too. But this one has the hallmarks of being and Chainx. Chainx is the other one.
Taking a look at those, because that's what you were telling me earlier. Ring and
What was the first one, Mark?
Say that again.
What was the first coin you called out?
I called out Ring, RING.
Oh, so Ring was a 100-timer.
That's what I think. You know, I could be wrong, but that's a low cap. It's going to be extremely important to get. You know, in the programming world, we have I don't want to get into the programming world. It's like kind of a .NET equivalent. You got to, anytime you use a runtime, a library that's already been compiled, anytime that's called, you're going to have to spend a ring to be able to use it for these people that's pre-compiled it and make money on it. So Yeah, that's got a big potential.
If you're gonna play around with, decentralized finance at all, and you do your research and you want to do something, what I was kind of looking at here is CoinGecko. It gives you so much more information than CoinMarketCap does, and I'm really starting to like it quite a bit. And so, as you know, there's just 5,897 coins in the crypto universe. That number is going to get a lot bigger, but there's these coins that are just ranked 560 that are a penny, and then people are pumping those. And so let's just take a look at Ring right now, just so you can kind of understand a little bit about the history a little bit. Okay, so can you guys see my screen, by the way?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. So here's Ring, okay? Ticker symbol Ring. It's 6 cents right now. It's ranked 233, okay? And you can see here some of the details about it. So I always look at the all-time high, not like it matters in this space anymore, but the all-time high was 9 cents, right? But I like this because it shows the 1 hour, 24 hour, 7-day, 14-day, 30-day, and you can see, it's up 1,200%.
It's a 30-day old coin. It's only been around for 30. You can only find it on Uniswap. It hasn't even hit the exchanges yet.
Here's the history. You can see right here, a fraction of a penny, and then boom. But here's the other thing that we always look at, right, is the trading volume. So right now, you really shouldn't be playing around with something that doesn't have a significant market cap or trading volume. So its trading volume right now is $2.6 million. Anything above probably $10 million could be considered something that has potential, right? And so clearly a lot of people are FOMOing in and kind of throwing a lot of money into it, but that can go bigger.
Right. But if you're looking at 100x lottery kind of coins, you have to look at these things that are way early, right? This is 30 days. This is a moonshot. So once you're looking at stuff that's got $10 million in liquidity, this hasn't even hit exchanges yet. This has been on just Uniswap. Uniswap's not really an official exchange. It's a decentralized app. So they've got a couple of exchanges that are little Chinese ones, Hotbit. But there's no Coinbase. Once this gets listed on Coinbase, which it will, this is one of the main Polkadot coins. You're going to see it go crazy on Binance. When it gets to where the normal people will be able to access it that don't know about Uniswap, it's going to explode. So that's the key. You want to get into these things way before anybody else knows about them. And that's a lot more risk, though, right? Don't be spending money you can't afford to lose. Who knows what could happen? But this is, if people want to know my sneaky suspicion, this is one.
And so if you're trying to, I'm just doing a quick overview, but if you're looking at the markets, obviously you know that exchanges are where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies. Uniswap is incredibly popular right now. So if I click on the trading pair, Ring Ethereum, it'll automatically take you to Uniswap. Okay, so it's really important that you use CoinGecko because there are a lot of copycat coins on here and scams on here as well. So you really want to make sure that if you're buying something, you're buying exactly the right thing, right? Because there are a lot of kind of coins with the same name. Oh, yeah, I remember they used to have a fake Shapeshift websites. I mean, this is the kind of madness that goes into the space. So make sure you're very comfortable with everything, right? But this is, again, just what it looks like. This is Uniswap, right? And you can see here, this is a decentralized exchange. This is the cause of all the Ethereum congestion. This is like CryptoKitties, but on like a decentralized finance level. So anyway, so I have a swap here. So I have a little bit of Ethereum. I have it linked up to my MetaMask wallet. So if you've ever downloaded MetaMask, I keep a little bit of Ethereum on here. So I have 0.63 Ethereum on here. And what I could do here is I can say, okay, I want to swap my Ethereum for Ring. So maybe what I want to do is I want to go 0.50 Ethereum and swap that for 33.90 Ring. Okay, so the price on that is, here's how much ETH per Ring. The one thing you will notice about Uniswap, which is actually causing the price of Ethereum to go up, is that the transaction fees are getting really, really expensive. And so people are having to buy more Ethereum to pay for the transaction fees. I've never had to buy so much Ethereum before. You know, I'm spending a ton of Ethereum, and that's what a lot of people are doing.
That's why the Ethereum price is going up so high, is because it costs gas fees. It costs Ethereum to make these transactions, and they don't happen for free. The Ethereum miners are going gangbusters right now. They're making all kinds of money. They're making even more money than the Bitcoin miners because of these fees, which are coming from these contracts, these swappable contracts. So Uniswap, that's what everybody's running to. This is where the herd is, and this is why. And so this is a good example.
And then so I'm in here. I'm going to confirm the swap here. And then if you've ever used MetaMask before, you get a little box that pops up here, and it says, okay, so you're spending $211 worth of Ethereum, and the gas fee is $11.50. So what's that, 5%? And so I spent 5% to buy this, but hey, it's worth it because this is going to go up 1,000%, and I'm going to become a ring millionaire. So I'm going to hit confirm, and then it's going to be pending, and then once it settles, it'll just show up on my account. I can also look at. Yep, I can also see, here's the etherscan.io, the transaction, it'll show up as settled there. And then it just shows up eventually right here. And then if I ever wanted to swap these, I could always swap my ring for Ethereum down the road and get back into Ethereum. Or what's really popular, what I was playing around with, is actually swapping into Tether, right? Tether is really easy to move around. So, you know, it's a stable coin. So there's a lot here. I'm still just learning about it. Mark's still learning about it. A lot of transactions are going to fail too because so many people are on this network right now. But if you were to just go through and look at CoinGecko and you start seeing Uniswap as an exchange, the reason is because more people are using it and it's completely decentralized. You don't have to KYC at all, which I think is pretty cool and a pretty big thing in today's world.
See, the key is like my Wayne Gretzky example, right? We're going to go where the puck is. Uniswap is where the puck is right now. That's why it's getting so popular. These coins are showing up here first before they go to the exchanges. So the money that people are making is made by getting them while they're here. They're getting them in the baby stage before anybody else knows about them. So this is your like secret weapon, right? Uniswap's your secret weapon. 99.999% of the world doesn't understand it, and this is where you get those tiny little coins before they explode.
All right, so let's take a look here. There's a few more questions I want to get through, and then let's try to settle this up here in about 15 minutes. That'll be 9 o'clock. Is that okay with you? All right, so let's see if we can kind of get through some of these questions. So, all right, Coinbase, not the greatest, but has jumped every U.S. government hurdle and will go public within 6 months for $69 billion. Their stablecoin USDC, number 2. Tether scares me, 1.2 billion cap, 200 to 400 million liquidity a day, and easy to go back and forth between Coinbase and Celsius. Atomic Wallet, excellent also. Oh, Atomic Wallet, should probably do that. So I think that was a comment, but yeah, does Tether scare you, Mark?
Not as much as it used to. It's got a big market cap, which is true. It's not covered one for the dollar. The latest audit was like 70% on the dollar. But the thing is, and it's kind of backwards, but they can print as much Tether as they want. Supposedly they got enough backers in these other countries to back it. And there's some big corporations now backing it. So the thing is, they could print a bunch and buy a bunch of Bitcoin because they are basically a market bully. The Bitcoin goes up. They then sell all that Bitcoin and then they fund the Tether coin, right? They just take all the profits that they just created themselves and then fund their own coin again. So it's sort of a backwards way to look at it, but they've been doing it for years. They've been able to stave off lawsuits. They've been around and they just keep getting bigger. So I think they're kind of one of those crypto too big to fail kind of coins now. Don't necessarily love them. I'd use USDC if I had the option. That's what I use, but I wouldn't say Tether scares me anymore.
And the nice thing about Tether and USDC is that those are Ethereum blockchain tokens. So they're actually really easy to store on your Ethereum Ledger Nano. It's an ERC20, so it's easy to move around. So I really like that. Is it time to break out the Satoshi bobbleheads? I wish there were. I don't think they sell them anymore, do they?
I never put away my Satoshi bobblehead. It's just with me all the time.
I still have my bobblehead. My daughter actually broke it, and I had to super glue. I've had to super glue a lot of stuff in my house. She broke my Bitcoin gnome. Hey, you want to see a Bitcoin gnome? I got this. Mark. This is a Bitcoin gnome. Reminded me of Mark.
The solar panel lights up, I guess.
Well, dark anyway. Like they don't. Like I always kind of buy a bunch of stuff off Amazon during the quarantine, Bitcoin related. So let's see here. Need more feminine energy and smarts like you, Michelle. Michelle, would you like to say something? Give us your insight. You've been actually, Michelle actually was hanging out with us a lot, you know, kind of as the market was in a bear market. And, you know, she was kind of learning about it and, you know, was getting, I think, frustrated with the market. But she stayed true to it. And, you know, she was hodling and still trying to dollar cost average in. And now I think you're doing pretty well now, aren't you, Michelle?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm finally starting to see through the charts those little numbers go up and all the. Yeah, I haven't experienced it before, and so I'm really excited to actually see how this all plays out and not lose my head, which I already feel like I've started to do a little bit, but it's like, oh my gosh, these numbers are crazy. I haven't seen this because all I've been seeing is just like straight line. But I've been learning so much, and I really love the space, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know. I just love it. I'm obsessed. I have been, and it's been nice to just kind of sit back and just keep learning. I've been learning technical analysis so that this time I'm hopefully a little more prepared to, when I see some of the, you know, the candles and what they're doing, I can kind of, I've learned a little bit of the language of what's going on. So hopefully I feel a little bit better about like getting out and having a good plan this time, and instead of, yeah, so I got in right when it was getting pretty crazy in 2007. It was literally right before the huge spike. It was just like a couple weeks. And so it's so crazy that that timing, it's when I look back on it and just knowing how much time has gone by, and looking at charts and also, you know, losing the money that I did invest at the time. Like when I look back on it, that timing was so crazy. Like it's insane, because basically it would have been like right now ish, give or take maybe a couple months, where you're just barely, probably actually maybe a little bit later, but where right now we're just barely starting to see the bull market and the winds are changing, right? So and just now just being like, okay, Mark, James, hold my hand. Like I don't I don't know how to be right now, you know. So but yeah, it's been a fun ride. I love it. Love this space so much. And I love seeing you guys again. Love seeing everyone. So awesome.
Remember to keep some of that gunpowder dry, though, because those 50% and 90% retracements are painful.
Yeah, I've kind of, I have like a little bit of a plan where it's skimming off the top. I feel like 10% is a pretty good number. So I have some plans for, okay, when this hits this, 10% off the top, 10%. And I think it is really helpful. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out again, like I said. But I think it's really helpful, guys, to have like a good plan of attack, so you know. And also, what I was going to say too is it might also be helpful to, like I know, like, I don't know how everybody keeps their funds and everything, but you know, I diversify onto different wallets. I have my hard wallet, thanks to James and Mark. They really taught me well on that. And but I have other places I kind of hold and stuff. But I do think that like it could be a good plan to maybe have like maybe a Binance or some kind of account to where you can plan where it, if something starts to drop, you do have that stop loss, or you have some kind of ping or something that notifies you, so that you can say, so you can be aware of, wow, this is like tanking right now. You know, I don't know. Maybe
Do you
other.
use stop losses?
I don't. I'm not a trader, so I don't keep money on exchanges that would do stop lossing. I mean, I played around with it enough to know I'm not good at it, and I've read enough about it to know that, you know, I don't know, 10% of the people make money and 90% of the people lose money. So those 10% of the people are, you know, basically living off the 90%. And I realized I was never going to break into that 10%. And I didn't want to stare at charts all day long. I wanted to be able to look at other stuff, you know, kick the soccer ball, do whatever else. So I'm a, you know, buy it cheap and hold on to it kind of guy. But, you know, I've learned you can hold on too long. So you need to have a good exit strategy. Like I said, the whole idea of making passive income is relatively new. So until that completely settles in and firms in, you know, I have plans to 10%, you know, at this point, like Chainlink, 10% every $5 or $10 it goes up, you know, so you need to have those dates, have a plan, and then stick to it, right? Be disciplined. And that helps you get out of the FOMO by saying, I don't care, today's the day, you know, and you got, you know, take that. That's the hardest for me, right? Take that profit, but it's super important.
You know, actually, I had a strategy during the 2017 bull market, which was, again, very crazy, right? I mean, I've had some success with the market. I've also lost a lot of money with the market, but I had a rule where I had to take 10% off every $100,000 I was making. And I was looking at the 2017 calendar, and it was literally like every week the market was up $100,000. And so I was just taking 10% out. And then I was like, this is so stupid. Like, why am I doing this? Like, the market's just going to keep on going up forever. And so I stopped following that rule. And I regret it because during 2018, market crashed and I didn't have that dry powder that I wanted, right? So, you know, I sold some Chainlink when it got to $8, and then I sold some more at $15, right? And you know what? I'm fine with that because you know what? I kept a large portion of my portfolio in just cash, like some stable coins, right? And so I'm really comfortable with that. I can sleep at night knowing that if the market was to crash, I wouldn't lose everything, or I wouldn't have to wait like 2 months for it to recover or 4 months for it to recover. And then also when it does crash, I know I can always buy some dips. And then also if, like, for example, I'm buying some DeFi coins right now, I just convert the cash to Ethereum and then buy some DeFi coins. So it's actually, you know, I'm comfortable with that, right? I may have missed out on an extra 100% gain, but I'm not going to lose it all, you know, like I've done in the past. So.
Yeah. And you probably bought your Chainlink way cheap, right? So 40 cents, right? So, you know, you can't complain about a, what was it, 80x return or whatever. You know, most people never see that in their entire lifetime, right? And I've seen it with 4 coins, right? Ethereum, Bitcoin, Chainlink, and even Ripple. We were into Ripple at a penny. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ripple, in case you didn't know. I don't really see a big use case for it, if that kind of answers your question. I don't hold any and don't plan to hold any. But you need to realize how extraordinary of a time this is in your life, right? You're seeing things that many lifetimes would never see. You know, grandparents, their grandparents, their grandparents. It's an extraordinary time, and you're in an extraordinary place right now. Just recognize that.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. This is something that this planet has really never seen before. honestly, when it comes to currency. So pretty cool.
Well, I hope everybody's staying safe out there, and following their social distancing, and just trying to kind of get through this, right? And so I know we haven't had any kind of video conferences or meetings in a while. This was just something special, I think. We've all kind of been in our homes for a little while, and at first it was like, well, we can't do live things anymore, so we have to just kind of cancel everything. But I think this is nice. I am going to record this. I did record it, so we can post this later if somebody wants to watch it over again. I think I will watch it over again. But really glad that there's other people in the cryptocurrency space who are just as excited about it as we are, and who are, being proper risk managers in the space. As you kind of invest and bounce ideas off of each other, it's really valuable to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. And so really appreciate the community that we have. So thank you.
I agree, James. You said it very well.
All right, guys. All right. Talk to you later, okay?
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Good to see everyone.
Good night.
Take care.
Good to see you
Thank
guys.
you.
Seriously, I miss you guys so much. So it's so good to see you. Friendly faces. Lynn, Jason, Jordan, Eric, Jeff, a few new people Bryce, a few people I don't know, but anyway, so good to see you guys. So good.
Hey, you too.
Okay, take care.
See you guys
Bye-bye.
next time.
Thanks so much, guys.